Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just have to start off by saying that I feel like it's been months since I have last sat down and tried to record a video. And I know it's been only probably like 3 weeks, almost a month, but still it's a really long time since I was kind of starting to get into a groove of things. So yeah, I do want to say that I don't want you guys to think that I was like just making videos and then I kind of got bored of it and then like stopped. Nothing to do with that. I promise you it's nothing with that. Just these last 3-4 weeks have really taken a toll on my mental health, and just like everything that's going on in this world is just bizarre to me. You know, in my last videos I was talking about how the whole coronavirus thing was really kind of taking a toll on me, and now with literally everything that's kind of going on in the world, it has really put into perspective a lot of things for me, but at the same time it's really taken a toll on my mental health. My anxiety has been like through the roof. My panic attacks have been starting to come on, which I have not had panic attacks in, I don't even know, like a couple of years. Like, it's been so bad, and it's just, I can't fathom like what's going on in the world. And I don't want this to be like a sad video. It's not going to be any of that, but I just really want to come on here and just like tell you guys, you know, like that's the reason why I wasn't like creating videos. That's why I wasn't really, you know, active on social media for a while. It really took a dampen on my mood and on my mental health, and I've just been trying to kind of like recoup from that and kind of just spend time with my family and spend time with my son and just really cherish the moments that I have with him, because just everything, like I said, that's been going on in the world, it's just, you never know anymore, and it's just really scary. And like I said, I'm not going to put this into a whole like sad, scary kind of thing, but that's basically the reasons why I have not recorded a video, because I've had many people ask me how come I haven't recorded a video yet, why haven't I posted anything yet, and that's pretty much it. Those are the reasons why. And I really wanted to stay off social media. I literally deleted Facebook for a little while because, I mean, I have it now, but I did delete it for probably like a week just because I did not want to see anything that was going on in the world. Like, which doesn't mean, and I don't want people to take this way out of context, like, it doesn't mean that I don't care about what's going on in the world. It doesn't mean that like I don't stand behind anything. It has nothing to do with that. It's just, for me, like I said, it was making me very anxious and very panicky and very depressed, and that is not how I want to feel, specifically being around my son. That is just nothing that I really wanted to be around. So I just deleted it all, cleared out my head, and then I got back on it, and thankfully, you know, things had died down a little bit, and I just want us to live in a very, very happy place and a very happy world, and where everybody can accept each other. And unfortunately right now that's not happening, and it's really sad to me that this is still going on. And like I said, I'm not going to get into it. That's like a whole different topic, but that is why I haven't recorded. I am back today, and I'm really excited to do this video because this one actually is highly requested, and I actually love watching videos like this because, I don't know, I just love to see everybody else's experiences and see what everybody else went through. So this is my delivery story. It isn't my labor and delivery story because I did not go through labor. I do want to put that out there really quick. I did not go through labor, so this is just like my delivery story, but I'm going to literally tell you everything that's happened because I know I've mentioned it kind of in a few other videos very, very vaguely, but this is where you're going to get all to see all of what happened to me and how I gave birth to my son. And yeah, so if you guys are excited to watch this video, but don't forget, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell. That way you are notified whenever I do upload. And now it'll be a lot more soon than it was for the past couple weeks. I promise you, I'm going to try and get back into the groove of things. But yeah, if you guys are ready to hear about my delivery story and my birth story, then keep on watching. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a long video. So if you are ready to hear this, then get your drinks, get your snacks. It's going to be a little long one because it was a very complicated one. But so basically, a couple days before I gave birth, I was feeling like kind of the general symptoms. I was very tired, very just fatigued. My body really ached, like just the typical symptoms when you're getting to the close end of your pregnancy. Mind you, I was 33 weeks during this time. And for a lot of the ending of my pregnancy, I was very swollen. I swelled so bad. And I know that is pretty common in pregnancy and in the end of your pregnancy, because obviously when you're on your feet a lot, it really makes you swell a lot. But my swelling was worse than I have ever seen somebody swell. It was so bad. Like my thighs were almost like as big as my ankles, as my calves. Like it was just one thickness all the way down my leg. It was so bad. But also didn't help that I was working 10-hour shifts at work. So I really outdid myself and really put myself out there way too much more than I probably should have for being 33 weeks pregnant. But it's in the past. That's what I did. And yeah, probably during that week, like I said, I was starting to feel really tired, but I didn't really think anything of it. I just was like, you know what? I'm really getting to the end of this thing, and I think maybe it's just really taking a toll on my body. And yeah, so didn't think really anything of it. And then on December 5th, I had a appointment to go to my OB. It was when I was going every 2 weeks to just do my basic checkup, my basic pregnancy checkup. And I'm pretty sure the following appointment, if I did have a following appointment, that's when I was going to start going once a week. But I didn't make it that far. So I went to this appointment, and which Jesse never came with me to any of my appointments because they were just basic, quick, like weight, blood pressure check, just asking me basic questions, how I'm feeling, if I have any questions about anything. So I never really had him come because I just was like, why waste your time leaving work if it's just going to be like a quick 10-15 minute appointment? Like, not worth it. But for some reason, I decided that I really wanted him to come to this one because I thought, okay, it's the last appointment before I start going weekly, and I kind of just wanted him to be there just to kind of be like my second ear, just in case I did miss something, then he would hear it, just things like that. And I did have all those symptoms kind of going on, so I just wanted him, to be there just to make sure that I was kind of notifying my doctor of everything that I was feeling. I walked in, and the nurse kind of did my basic questions of how are you feeling, do you have to go to the bathroom, kind of things like that. So I did pee in a cup, which you guys know, if you are pregnant, you gotta do that at every appointment. And I told her, I'm just really tired. I'm just kind of over this pregnancy. Like, I just really want him to be out. Like, it's just really taking a toll on my body. And she's like, okay. So I get into the room, and this is where they take your blood pressure, your temperature, like all of that super quickly. And so she went to take my temperature or my blood pressure, and she got really concerned. And she's like, are you feeling okay? Are you nervous? And I was like, no, I'm feeling okay. I said, I'm just really tired, but that's pretty much it. She's like, nothing else. You don't feel like you got a headache. You don't feel like specific symptoms that went with hypertension. And she's like, do you see like floaters? Do you see like, do you feel any of that, any different than normal? And I was like, no. I said, I just feel really tired. And she's like, okay. So she went to check my weight, which, mind you, for pregnancy, at least my doctor said that the typical weight that you want to gain during a pregnancy is between 25 and 30 pounds as a healthy weight gain during your pregnancy. I do want to add this in quickly, that towards like the ending of my pregnancy, so starting by like between 31 and the day that I delivered, I was gaining weight very rapidly. Mind you, I did not change my diet at all. I was barely actually eating even more. Like, I was literally eating 3 meals a day, and they weren't big meals. They were like nothing different. And that's just the only time that I had time to eat was for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I was working 10-hour shifts. So it's like I had breakfast, I worked, I went on my break, had my lunch, and then I wasn't eating until 8, 9 o'clock at night. And even then, I really wasn't that hungry, so I really wasn't eating like a whole ton. But it was kind of really freaking me out because I was gaining weight very dangerously and very rapidly. And when I say very rapidly, I gained almost 10 pounds in a week. That, I'm sure if you hear that, that is insane, and you probably never heard anybody gain that much in a week. And I'm telling you, it's because of what I'm going to explain to in a little bit. By that appointment, I had gained 50 pounds since I started gaining weight, and that was probably in a month. So I just want to put that out there, that that is not normal. And I do know that a lot of people do gain a lot of weight in their first pregnancy or in any pregnancy. Your body's different. I'm not saying that everybody's going to gain a certain amount. Like, it's nothing like that. But there is an average of how much they think that you should be gaining for your weight and for your height and stuff like that. And for me, that was way too much for me to be gaining. And he was very concerned that I was eating a very unhealthy diet, and I was just kind of not taking control of my cravings and things like that. But it was none of that. I really didn't have any strong cravings. I never just went and grabbed something just because I was like, oh, I want this, oh, I want that. Like, I ate fine. I did not change anything in my diet. I didn't eat terrible. So that's why I was really concerned of why I was gaining so much weight. But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is how my body wants to react to having a baby inside of me. So that's just what my body wanted. So anyway, we're at this appointment, and so she's like, all right, I'm gonna go to the doctor, tell her, you know, what your blood pressure is. She's like, it's just way too high right now. She went out to the doctor, talked to the doctor. The doctor literally immediately came right back in. Like, usually I'm sitting in there for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes waiting for the doctor to finish up with somebody else and then come to me. No. She went out, and this doctor came right back in. She goes, okay, I need to check your blood pressure again. I said, okay. Mind you, no one has told me anything of what my blood pressure was, just that it was very high. So she went and she took my blood pressure again. Mind you, I'm like looking at Jessie, I'm like, oh God, like, is it that bad to where, like, you know, she's like rushing in here? So she went to take my blood pressure again, and she goes, you know, I don't want to scare you. She's like, but I'm going to tell you what your blood pressure is. And I was like, okay. And mind you, I have had borderline high blood pressure since I was 11. So like, I know what like having high blood pressure is. But she told me that my blood pressure was 218/137. Now, if you are a doctor, if you are a nurse, if you know anything about that is literally scary, dangerously high. Like, that is in seizure and stroke levels. So that is why they kept asking me why, like, if I was feeling a certain way, if I was having headaches, if I was seeing floaters, things like that, because typical symptoms with that is you'd be feeling all those symptoms with having super high blood pressure. But I wasn't feeling anything, which is very common too. A lot of people have very dangerously high levels and don't know, and that's why bad things happen, because they have no idea and they don't feel any different. And so like I said, I've had borderline high blood pressure. I've had high blood pressure my whole life. So to me, I did not feel any different. I did not notice any difference in my symptoms, and maybe I was having symptoms, but to me they were normal. So I don't really know. If you are pregnant and you are going to your doctor's appointments, every doctor appointment you pee in a cup, and they basically check for protein in your urine, which that's basically looking to see if you have preeclampsia, which they came back in and also said that between your last appointment and now, you somehow have gained preeclampsia, severe preeclampsia, and I had protein in my urine. And usually, sometimes you can have protein in your urine when you're pregnant, but it's a very, very, very low levels, like under 100 low levels. Mine was at 10,000. So she said that I was just in such a bad situation that, like, she told me that I needed to go to the hospital immediately. So she's like, what I need you to do is, well, first, before all that, she told me that I need to lay on my side. I laid on my left side, and told me that I just kind of needed to wait there for about 10 minutes and then she was going to retake it again. So maybe it could have like changed it a little bit. So I did that and it did not change. It just kept getting higher. So that's when she told me, she goes, listen, she's like, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to look out for you and protect your health. But you need to head over to the hospital right now. She goes, I don't want to put anything in your head. She's like, I don't want to scare you, but you may or may not be having your baby today, depending on what they think is right for you. And I started freaking out. I started bawling my eyes out because, mind you, at that day, I'm 34 weeks and 34 and 6. 34 weeks and 6 days pregnant. So I was just about to be 35 weeks. So I was 5 weeks early. And I was like, oh God, like I can't have my baby now. He's not ready to come out. He's not fully developed. And so she's like, just go to the hospital. You're going to go right up to triage, which triage is where they kind of determine like the severity of your cases before they either admit you or send you home. I had, thankfully, Jesse there because I was not allowed to drive. They were either going to have Jesse drive me or I was going to have to be taken by ambulance, and I was not going in an ambulance alone. So they had Jesse bring me to the hospital. So here I am driving to the hospital. I had to go up to the birthing center and then go to the triage on the birthing center. They already knew I was on my way. So the doctor called them, told them that I was on my way. So when I got there, I just went up to the desk and just told them my name, that I'm here coming from the doctor. So they knew I was there, brought me right into triage. They got me into a gown, got all done, took my blood pressure again, and they're like, okay. She's like, well, I called my mom when I was on the way there, so she was already on her way. My sister was already on her way, just because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was having the baby that day, so I just was freaking out. So I called my mom, they were on their way, and while I was in triage, they took my blood pressure again, and it just continued to get higher. The last blood pressure that I knew was the 218/137, but they said that it was even higher than that. Like I said, I don't know what your blood pressures could even go to, but mine was that high. So they immediately had to start me on magnesium. A lot of women who have either early signs of preeclampsia or have preeclampsia, they treat you with magnesium, and basically it just relaxes your whole body, and it's supposed to help bring down your blood pressure. So they immediately started me on that. But as they were doing that, they had which this is really what scared me at this point, that I knew something was absolutely wrong, was I had 10 nurses standing around my bed. They had pushed Jesse out of the way. They pushed my mom out of the way. I had 10 nurses right around me. Mind you, I was also in a bed, so they had the boards that were on the side of me. They were wrapping up with bedding to basically have like seizure restrictions and seizure precautions, kind of had to get ready in case something was to happen. And at that point, I knew something was very, very wrong, and that something was bad, like something bad was about to happen. And so then I started panicking even more, which made my blood pressure go up. And that's when they knew that the magnesium wasn't going to help me, because I tried to relax, but at the same time, if the magnesium wasn't even helping a little bit, then they knew something was definitely wrong, and it had to do with the baby. So they waited a little bit, tried to see if my blood pressure would go down even just a slight bit, and it didn't. So that's when they knew that today was the day that I was having my baby. This is when I started panicking, because they said, all right, we got to call in an anesthesiologist. We have to call in a surgeon team. We have to get you in the emergency room or in the operating room, like right now. And this is where I started bawling, because I was not ready. I did not have a bag packed. I did not have the baby's room completely done. I had nothing. I didn't have an overnight bag. I had absolutely nothing, because I did not expect this to come. So I started panicking, and I was like, I'm not ready. I don't have anything. And this is when they just told me, you don't have a choice. The baby is coming today. We have to deliver the baby, because if we don't, something really could dangerously happen to you or the baby. Most likely, but they had a close eye on the baby. They had his heart rate, and they just had him completely monitored, and he was perfectly fine. It was just my body was starting to break down, and if they did keep him in there, they told me that I might not be here today. So that's that. So fast forward, and now we are into the operating room, and I was so scared. I had to get a spinal, which is a little bit different than an epidural. A spinal is immediate, so it's not like for an epidural where you can kind of keep adding it in, and it can kind of like, it takes a little bit longer for it to kick in. A spinal is completely immediate, so they inject it like they would an epidural, but for this is completely immediate. And I don't know, I just was shaking the whole time, that I don't even remember feeling any pain for them in like putting the spinal in, which they said it was gonna probably hurt pretty bad because it was a pretty deep needle. And I am telling you, I did not feel a thing. And for me, I don't know, I think it was just more that I was super nervous, and I don't know. But anyway, so mind you, I was sitting there shaking. They had me lean over the bed, and mind you, I'm completely naked, and I actually had to have a nurse bear hug me to kind of calm me down because I was shaking so much. And also, Jesse was not in the OR yet, just because they would not allow him in there until my spinal finally worked. If it didn't work, he was not allowed into the OR until either it worked or they had to do it without a spinal. They just had to get the baby out, whether it worked or not. But I am thanking God that it worked, because if I did not have anything I think either they had to knock me out completely and then do the surgery, or I was not going to have anything. So that wouldn't have been fun. So thankfully, it finally did work, and I was laying on the bed. They finally let him come in, and I just was shaking. My whole upper body was shaking, which also is a side effect of epidurals and spinals. You just shake, you get the shakes. It's not that you're cold, you get the shakes. And so I could not stop shaking, and I was just crying the whole time. And so Jesse was kind of right next to me trying to calm me down, and he's like, you know, this is so crazy that I wasn't expecting this. And I'm like, and you think I was? Like, I was not expecting to have our son today. Like, I was expecting we had another 5 weeks. So we're in there, and I'm just telling you guys, it was the quickest surgery, but it was the most terrifying thing I think I've ever been through. And I obviously know a lot of women have C-sections. I just had never even looked into it. I never even thought about a C-section because I was fully prepared to deliver naturally. But obviously, I had other things going for me, and so I was having a C-section, so I wasn't fully prepared of what to expect. But let's just say that Grayson had not dropped yet, so he was still pretty high in my stomach. So when they cut me open, pulled everything out, they had to pull him out from being so high, and I felt everything. I could not stop crying. Like, it was the most terrifying and traumatic experience of my life. I felt everything. I did have the spinal. It was numb, more in my legs and my very, very low stomach, but anything from mid-stomach up, I completely felt. So I felt him being pulled from my stomach, and I just was praying that it was just going to be over. And I kept telling Jesse, I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm terrified. Like, and I had the worst anxiety, and he just sat there and he just kept telling me, like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And then I want to tell you, 10 minutes later, we heard the cry. Oh God, I don't even want to cry because I'm thinking about it, but we heard his cry, and it was literally like everything just kind of was over. Like, I felt like since the minute I got to the doctor's office, and everything just kind of got amplified, and everything was just very fast paced since then. And then as soon as he was out, it was just like everything just stopped. Like, everything was just like, and I heard his cry. And so they let Jesse go around and get pictures of the baby, and he came back and he showed me pictures of him, and oh my God, I don't want to cry. It was just so perfect, and he was so tiny, very, very tiny. And they did bring him over because I kept asking if I could see him very quickly, and they brought him over, and I will insert a picture, show you guys the picture that we had of us all together. But it literally was just insane. It was literally insane. After that, they did say that they had to take him very quickly to the NICU because he was having a little bit of a breathing problem. But other than that, he said all of his signs were great. His heart rate was good. His blood pressure was good. Like, everything for him was great. He just had a little bit of a breathing problem, so they did have to put him on a mask, and they took him right up to the NICU. And then they brought me into the recovery room, which I had to sit there for probably like an hour or so, just until everything kind of calmed down. And let's just say I was so tired. Mind you, I was on magnesium, and magnesium makes you very flu-like, very tired. I could not see straight. I didn't even have my glasses on me, so my eyes were like, I felt like they were crossing. I just could not see straight. And I just had to kind of calm down, but like I was trying to kind of sleep because I just was so ready to just be like my body just wanted to give up at that point. But at the same time, it's like I just went through this whole thing, and so like I felt so strong, but at the same time I was like, I need to rest. Like, I just need to sleep. So after that, at some point, I think I fell asleep because I do not remember getting back up to my room in the birthing center. So I was brought to my room, and I did wake up, and I noticed that my mom was there, Jesse was there, my sister was there, my grandparents were there, and it just was so surreal. And Jesse was able to go and see him multiple times in the NICU. I wasn't really able to see him for many hours because I was just more on the side of trying to recover, and they were trying to get my blood pressure under control. So once I did get the baby out, it was just like my body just corrected itself, and being on the magnesium, my blood pressure dropped dramatically, and so they were very happy with that. It was still very elevated, but at the same time, it wasn't in those dangerous levels anymore. So they were so happy to see that, but they just really wanted me to work on kind of recovering and helping myself, and letting the doctors kind of take over for the baby just for the time being, to let myself get some rest. And I know I'm not the only one, and I know every mom experiences this, but they experience this guilt that they aren't able to kind of care for their child as soon as it's born. And I had that very bad guilt. I felt that I couldn't properly be a mom to him yet, and my body just wasn't allowing me, and they just kept telling me, do not feel bad. You know, every mom goes through this. You need your time to recover. You just literally held and delivered a baby. You held this baby for 9 months, and now you just delivered this baby. Like, you need your own rest too. I tried to sleep, but at the same time, I really couldn't sleep because I was just very worried about everything that was going on in my body. I was just very scared that something was going to happen to me. So I was just on very high alert. So I was just so exhausted. Later in that day, I obviously had a lot of visitors, and I just felt bad because I was really trying to sleep, and I felt that I needed to be up for everybody. And I also felt bad because he was in the NICU, and I know a lot of people wanted to come and see him, but I didn't even get to see him that much because, like I said, I was on bed rest. I couldn't do anything. So I just want to say that Grayson was born on December 5th at 2:46 p.m. and he was 4 pounds, 8 ounces, and he was 17.5 inches long. He was a very, very tiny little pipsqueak, and he still is super tiny. He's actually 6 months. I cannot believe it. I can't believe I'm recording this 6 months later, but he is literally perfect. He is the biggest blessing I could have ever gotten, and he is literally one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my whole life. And I'm just so thankful that I'm still here to be able to take care of him, and that nothing seriously happened to me. But I just want to kind of throw that in there. I do want to also add in too, so I was in the hospital for about I was actually in the hospital for 5 days the first time. So they had to monitor me just a little bit extra because which Grayson was in there for 6 days. So it did help that he was still in the hospital with me and he was still admitted while I was admitted. So the doctors were able to take care of him while I was trying to recover. So I was in there for 5 days because they had to make sure my blood pressure was going to come down because it did spike back up after I got off the magnesium, which is very, very common. So they did start me on 2 blood pressure medicines and it did kind of control it, but it was still slightly elevated, but it was enough to let me go home. So I did go home on a Tuesday. And mind you, I had him on a Thursday. So that following Tuesday, I did go home and I stayed the night at home. And let me just tell you, leaving the hospital without my son was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But they did say that he was most likely going to be going home the next day. So I was just glad that he was in really good care and really good hands and that they were really taking good care of him. So next day was a Wednesday and I was so excited to go and get him. So we went really early in the morning because they said that he was most likely going to be able to go home. So we got there, brought the car seat, brought everything. And the car seat was already there because he had to take his car seat test, which he did pass the first time, which I was so thankful for. And he was ready to go. He took off his own face mask. He just didn't want it after, I think, a day, they said. So other than that, he was perfect. He was gaining weight the way he should be. And he was just the most perfect baby boy that I could have ever wished for. And so we were able to bring him home on that Wednesday. So we brought him home and we were probably home until about 6. And because my blood pressures were super high, I had to have a home healthcare aide come to my apartment pretty much 2 or 3 times a week because I had to make sure that my blood pressures were okay. And so she wanted to come the day after I was released. So on that Wednesday, she came and I had a couple people over because everybody wanted to see the baby. And so she went to take my blood pressure and it was right back up again. It was in not as dangerous as it was the first time, but it was in pretty dangerous levels and she was very scared that it was going to get brought back up again. She did make a call to my OB and unfortunately they told me that I had to go back to the hospital. Mind you, this was the first night that my son was home and I was literally in tears, bawling my eyes out because I could not spend the first day home with my son. And to this day, I still have guilt. And I know that people say not to have guilt about it, that, things are happening, you have to take care of your own body. But at the same time, I had this very bad guilt that I couldn't take care of my son the first night. But Jesse obviously had to stay home and take care of the baby. So his mom and him stayed home and obviously took care of the baby overnight. And then my mom came with me and stayed with me in the hospital. And I was brought into the emergency room and my blood pressures did go back up again. So I actually had to go on magnesium for a round 2. I didn't really explain about the whole magnesium thing. You have to be on magnesium for 24 hours and you have to get a catheter in because you are bedridden. So I had to do that for a round 2. And it was just the worst days of my life. Like I just felt like I was never around my son. I couldn't properly take care of my son and I will forever have guilt for it, and I know I shouldn't, but I just felt like I really couldn't take care of Grayson the way that I wanted to. So I was brought back into the hospital, and Jesse brought the baby up the day after, and I was able to see him, and they actually let the baby and him stay overnight so that I was able to be around him. And I did get off the magnesium at around 9 o'clock the next night, so I was able to get up and help Jesse a little bit taking care of the baby. And I was in there for another 3 nights. So I left on a Saturday. No, I think I left on I did leave on a Saturday, and I did get to go home. And thankfully my blood pressure was a little bit elevated again, but this time it definitely did not go back up to the dangerous high levels, but I was stuck on 2 blood pressure medicines for I mean, I'm still on one of them, so it kind of shows even 6 months postpartum, I'm still kind of experiencing high blood pressure, and I'm still kind of trying to get it under control. But other than that, I am very healthy and as healthy as I can be, and I'm just so thankful that, you know, I've had pretty good doctors and nurses that were able to help me and to get me in a healthy place, and being able to now fully take care of my son 100% and seeing him grow. And it was just a very crazy story, and I'm really hoping that, you know, in the future, if I do decide to have another baby, that I will be able to have extra precautions and extra tests and ultrasounds done to prevent from having another traumatic experience. Do you want to say that I did have a talk with my doctor, and that preeclampsia you cannot prevent, but you can control it. And the reason that I got it, which I wasn't expecting it, but the reason that I got it is because, like I said before, I was experiencing borderline high blood pressure since I was 11 until now, and I never was medicated for it. I always just found different natural remedies to basically control it. So I'd find a good diet, I would cut things out of my diet. I just found other ways, like exercise. I just found different ways to help lower my blood pressure, and they just told me that I never really needed to go on medicine because it was never that high. Most people during their pregnancy, their body kind of corrects itself. So most people have perfect blood pressure through their whole pregnancy, and then towards the end, if you have any underlying health conditions, those tend to flare up. And unfortunately, because I had borderline high blood pressure, mine did flare up, and that is why I had severe preeclampsia. That is pretty much my whole birth story. I'm not gonna, obviously there's still more details that I just could even go on and on about, but for the most part, that is a lot of my birth story. It was so traumatic, but at the same time, it was the birth of my beautiful baby boy, and I could not thank God more to give me such a perfect, healthy boy, and to see him grow and to see him get so big, and to show that, like, I created him and that I birthed him. And it was just insane. And I just want to actually say that I want to put this out there for anybody: don't ever have high expectations, and do not have a set plan of how you're going to give birth, because I had full plan on delivering naturally and having a vaginal birth, and that did not go any way in shape or plan how I was expecting it and what I planned it to be. And you just cannot have high hopes for anything. I mean, you can expect to go one way. I mean, if you're super healthy and don't have anything wrong with you, I'm sure you can. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that. And I also did talk to my doctor, and she said that I am no longer, and even if I didn't have a C-section the first time, I most likely would have had complications having a vaginal birth, because my cervix is very narrow. So my body just is to have C-sections, and I've learned to be okay with that, because, you know, it's still delivering a baby, it's still birthing a baby, and I think both ways are amazing, and a woman is so strong to be able to do any of them. And yeah, that is my birth story. I am so glad you guys sat around to listen to it. I know it was a super long video, but that's a majority of what happened to me during my pregnancy and my birth. Like I said, not everybody is the same. Everybody's birth story is completely different, and I love watching everybody's birth stories and, you know, the way that they deliver and their symptoms leading up to it. Like, I love watching videos on all of those, because I just love to see, you know, the power of every woman that are able to carry babies and to deliver babies. And it's just amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos on Grayson and more baby videos, like my baby routine every single day, which we have gotten into a pretty good routine, so I might make a video on that. But if there's anything you guys want to see, feel free to put it in the comments below. But yeah, thank you for watching my video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.